Rain tapped gently against the windshield as Maria sat in the parking lot, staring at the towering office building in front of her. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, her heart pounding in her chest. This was it, the interview that could change everything. After months of juggling temp jobs and late-night shifts, this position promised stability, benefits, and a real future. She had rehearsed every answer, pressed her blazer the night before, and even arrived early. But nothing could have prepared her for the babysitter's last-minute cancellation. She glanced in the rearview mirror at her daughter, Lila, fast asleep in her car seat, her tiny hand curled around a worn-out stuffed bunny. At just 4 years old, Lila had already been through more uncertainty than most children her age. Maria bit her lip, torn between responsibility and desperation. What kind of mother brings a child to an interview? But what kind of mother misses a chance to provide a better life? She reached back to gently wake Lila, her voice soft and apologetic. "Sweetheart, I need you to come with Mommy for a little while, okay?" Lila rubbed her eyes and nodded sleepily. Maria quickly straightened her clothes, wiped away the nervous sweat from her brow, and whispered a prayer. As she lifted her daughter out of the car and approached the front doors, each step felt heavier. She could already feel the judgment. Still, she held Lila close and kept walking. She had no other choice, but she had hope. Maria's heels echoed across the polished lobby floor as she walked in, Lila's small arms wrapped around her neck. The building was sleek and modern, glass walls, brushed steel, and silent, serious people in sharp suits. Maria felt like she didn't belong. Eyes followed her, some curious, others dismissive. A man in a navy tie gave her a double take before returning to his laptop. She kept her gaze forward, trying to quiet the storm of self-doubt rising inside her. At the front desk, a poised receptionist looked up. Her eyes dropped to the child in Maria's arms, then back to her face. "Can I help you?" Maria cleared her throat, forcing her voice to be steady. "I'm here for the 10 a.m. interview. Maria Castillo." The receptionist hesitated, clearly uncertain. "You brought your daughter?" Maria nodded, her cheeks burning. "I didn't have another option. I'm really sorry." There was an awkward silence as the receptionist typed something, her polished nails clicking against the keys. "One moment," she said, picking up the phone. Maria shifted her weight, Lila now fully awake and quietly sucking her thumb. She felt like the whole room could hear her heart beating. After a long pause, the receptionist nodded and gestured toward the hallway. "Mr. Whitmore will see you now." Maria blinked. She hadn't expected to make it past the front desk. With a deep breath, she adjusted Lila on her hip and walked toward the unknown, terrified. But also a little bit relieved. The office was larger than she expected, walls lined with books, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a view of the city skyline, and at the center of it all sat Mr. Whitmore. He was younger than she imagined, maybe in his 40s, sharp suit, silver cufflinks, and a calm intensity in his eyes. He stood as she entered, offering a brief handshake, his eyes flickering to Lila before returning to Maria. "Ms. Castillo," he said, motioning to the chair across from him. "Please, have a seat." Maria settled in, shifting Lila onto her lap. Her daughter was quiet but curious, glancing around the office with wide eyes. Maria handed her a small coloring book she had tucked into her bag, hoping it would buy her a few quiet minutes. She took a deep breath and began, trying to sound confident. "Thank you for this opportunity. I've followed your company's work for years." But mid-sentence, Lila tugged on her sleeve. "Mommy, I'm hungry," she whispered, loud enough to echo in the quiet room. Maria froze. Her heart sank. "I'm so sorry," she said quickly, fumbling in her purse for a snack. She handed Lila a granola bar with trembling fingers, then reached for her resume, but in the same moment, Lila dropped her stuffed bunny. It hit the hardwood floor with a soft thud. Maria winced, her cheeks flushed. She reached down to grab it, but Mr. Whitmore was already leaning over the desk. For a moment, everything stopped. The next words from him would define everything. Mr. Whitmore leaned forward slowly, picked up the worn stuffed bunny from the floor, and held it gently in his hands. He looked at it for a moment, its matted fur, the stitched-up ear, then smiled as he handed it back to Lila. She took it shyly, burying her face in her mother's shoulder. Then he looked at Maria, his tone softer now, something human behind the professionalism. "You're stronger than you know," he said. Maria blinked, caught off guard. She'd been bracing for polite dismissal, for a line like, "We'll be in touch," or, "This isn't appropriate." But not that. Not kindness. He leaned back in his chair, folding his hands. "My mom used to take me to interviews just like this. She didn't have a sitter either. She worked 3 jobs to get us through. I know what that strength looks like." Maria's eyes began to sting, tears rising before she could stop them. She pressed her lips together, trying to hold it together. No one had ever seen her effort for what it was: survival, love, hope. Not until now. Mr. Whitmore continued, "You came prepared. You showed up despite everything. That's the kind of person I want working here." Maria was speechless. In a world where she often felt invisible, suddenly she was seen, not just as a candidate, not just as a mother, but as someone powerful. And those 5 words, "You're stronger than you know," would echo in her heart forever. The interview didn't continue with stiff questions or rehearsed answers. Instead, it flowed like a real conversation, about resilience, problem-solving, and balancing life's chaos with grace. Maria spoke from the heart, her nerves slowly giving way to confidence. Lila sat quietly, coloring, occasionally glancing up at her mother with curious eyes. By the end, Mr. Whitmore stood and offered his hand again, this time with something more behind it. "If you want the position, it's yours," he said. Maria stared at him, stunned. I do," she whispered, her voice cracking. He smiled. "We can discuss flexibility around childcare. You won't have to carry all of this alone anymore." Maria nodded, unable to speak. She felt the weight she'd been carrying, the guilt, the pressure, the fear, begin to lift. As she left the office with Lila's tiny hand in hers, she stepped into the sunlight. The rain had stopped. They walked through the lobby again, but this time Maria held her head higher. The same people were there, the same polished floors and steel walls, but everything felt different. She had come in ashamed, uncertain, expecting rejection. Instead, she was leaving with dignity, a job, and a lesson she'd never forget. Because sometimes, it only takes one person to see the strength in you, for you to finally see it in yourself. And those 5 words, "You're stronger than you know," weren't just encouragement. They were the beginning of everything.